I am super excited to make this tutorial. I've been working on it for a while and I finally came up with one that I think is pretty easy and straightforward to follow. It's a button-up cardigan with a V neckline and it has cuffs and kind of like billowy sleeves. So this is an original pattern, original tutorial made by me, but I do have some reference photos that I used. These pictures I found on Pinterest. I liked a lot of the aspects that were in it, and so I tried to replicate that in my own way. And I know this video is super long, but I go into a lot of details and I show you step by step on how to do this, so please watch everything so you don't miss anything important. The supplies you're going to need. This is the yarn I am using. I got it at Joann's, so I don't know if you're able to find it anywhere else because Joann's RIP. Here are the measurements and weights and whatnot, and I'm going to put how much yarn I used in grams right here and also how many balls of yarn I used. I'm using an eye hook size. I'll put the numerical size up here. You'll need scissors and 4 stitch markers or 4 bobby pins. Now to start this cardigan, for your foundation chain, if you are following along with exactly my pattern, for reference I'm a size medium or small to medium, you are going to chain 56. Now, if you are not following exactly my pattern, to figure out your foundation chain, what you're going to do, I'm going to insert a little picture right here of what my foundation chain looks like on me. You want it to be able to just loosely drape over your shoulders, and since it's going to be a V-neck, we aren't going to have the chain loop around completely. It's just kind of be right on either side of your collarbone. So follow along with this picture. But if you are doing exactly what I'm doing, go ahead and chain 56. Here's my chain 56. For reference, it is about, it's almost 15 inches long. So because this is a raglan or a top-down crochet project, we're going to be needing to put some stitch markers in to find where our increasing spots need to be. So if you are following along exactly with me, your first stitch marker is going to be the 3rd stitch. 1, 2, 3. The next one is going to be in the 18th stitch. So 3, 4, 18. And then come back to this side, put a stitch marker into the 3rd stitch from the hook. 1, 2, 3, and then again the 18th. 4, 5, 6, 17, and 18. So if you are following along with me, you should have 2 in between this stitch and the end, 14 between these 2 stitches. You should have 20 between these 2 stitches, and then again 14 between these 2, and then 2 between the end and this stitch. So that's if you are following exactly along with me. Now if you're not following along with me, to figure out where you put your stitch markers, is you want to just, you're not going to fold it completely in half because it is going to be a V-neck. We're going to have an opening in the front. It's not a regular sweater. I fold it kind of like this. And you can see what I've done is I've just placed my stitch markers across from each other about 2 inches from each side, if you can see. So 2 inches, I placed stitch markers roughly. 2 inches, place stitch markers roughly. I made sure that they had the same amount on each of these sides. It doesn't matter what number they are, which is really nice. Just make sure that they're kind of, you know, the same, because I try not to make it too hard. So for row 1, we're going to chain 3. And we're going to be doing a double crochet into the 4th stitch from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So yarn over and put your double crochet in there. Oops, I'm all twisted. There we go. This counts as a first increase for our V neckline. So I have our chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and then I have my other double crochet here. So I have 2 double crochets in 1 stitch. So that's how I'm going to start every row, is with an increase to help make that V neckline. Now I'm going to put another double crochet into the next stitch. And now I've come across my first stitch marker. Now in this stitch marker, I'm going to put a double crochet. And now I'm going to put an increase. So what an increase is, you're going to chain 2 and then put another double crochet in that same stitch. So this is what you're going to be getting after. So this is an increase. So now we have this kind of triangle shape and a little chain space right here. After that, you're going to continue doing double crochets all the way along here until you reach your next stitch marker. Coming up on my next stitch marker here. So remember to increase when you get to this stitch marker. So you put a double crochet, chain 2, and then another double crochet. Now continue doing your double crochets until you reach your next stitch marker, and you'll put another increase. Continue doing your double crochets, and then I'll meet you after you finish doing your last increase in this stitch marker. So I just finished my last increase where my stitch marker is, and I'm coming up on my last stitches here. So I'm going to put double crochet. Now in the very last stitch, we're going to put another increase for that V neckline I was talking about. So to do that, we're just going to put 2 double crochets into this very last stitch. Just like this. So there's two double crochets in this one stitch. And that's how you're going to end every row that has all these double crochets in it. For the next row, to start it, row 2, you're going to chain 3. Flip your work. This chain 3 counts as your first double crochet. Remember that we do increases at the very ends and beginnings. So that means in this same stitch, we're going to put another double crochet. And this counts as another increase to help make the neckline. Now we're going to work double crochets in all of these stitches, all the way till we reach that chain space right here. Make sure you don't skip any stitches. I reached the chain space, I'm going to put a double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 2 and put another double crochet in that chain space. This is how you will be doing increases for these spots for now on. Continue doing double crochets into every stitch, making sure you don't skip any stitches, and work all the way down until you reach the next stitch marker. and you're going to put another increase. And I will meet you at the last stitch marker here. Now to finish it off, put in your double crochets. Now, you may think this stitch right here is the last one and that's where you're going to put your increase for the neckline. No, don't do that. Just put a regular double crochet in there. We're going to be putting our increase actually in this chain 3, because remember our chain 3s counts at double crochets. So you're going to insert your hook at the top here. Oops, I forgot to yarn over though. Make sure you put a double crochet. Insert your hook into that chain 3 and put a double crochet, and then put another one in that same spot because we have to do our increase at the end, just like we do in the beginning. And now you can kind of start seeing it make that diagonal shape for the V. So here are the first 2 rows, and they are both double crochet rows with increasing and increasing at the very start and end. Now for row 3, go ahead and chain 3. Okay, flip your work. So for this row, it's not going to be a row of double crochets. We're going to be making a row of little squares. Now, I recommend you guys watch a tutorial that I have posted about how to make this type of stitch. You can go ahead and watch that. I will link it down below and also up here somewhere if you want something more in depth on how to do it. But for here, I'm just going to kind of keep it a little bit more simple. So a few things for this row. 1, we're making it into squares. And 2, we are not going to be increasing increasing at the beginning or the end like we did with the double crochet rows. So we're just going to go straight into our normal pattern. So go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to skip a stitch and put our double crochet. So skip this stitch here and go into this one. And this is what it should look like. Now, chain 1, skip a stitch, and go into the next one. Now you're starting to make kind of like little squares. So after every double crochet you do, you will chain 1, skip a stitch, and go into the next one. Now when you come to your increasing spots, you might think, okay, where do I put my double crochet if I have to skip this stitch? Just put it into here. But now that I'm also in my chain space, I still have to do that increase. So chain 2 and put your double crochet in here. So there you still have your increasing, but also keeping the square pattern for this row. So now, chain 1, you're going to skip a stitch, so that means this one right here, and go into the next. Chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next. So you're just going to continue doing this. And the main thing for this row is to just keep this pattern. If you feel like when you come up to one of these and it doesn't seem right, don't worry. Just make sure you keep the pattern of chaining 1 and skipping 1. And you will be okay. So when I come up again, I'll show you guys how to do that chain space spot. Coming up on the second one. Here, chain 1, I'm going to skip this one, go into this one here, chain 1, insert into the chain space. Got to do my increase, so chain 2, insert hook, put a double crochet, chain 1. I need to skip this one here and go into here. I just finished doing my last increase right here, and now I'm about to end my row. So just going to keep working. Chain 1, skip 1, and coming up on the very end here, we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip this double crochet, and we're going to be putting our next double crochet into this chain 3 right here, kind of like what we did for the last row. So go ahead and insert your hook and put a double crochet. And that is how you end your row 3. And this is the basic pattern that we're going to be having for this cardigan. It's going to be 2 rows of double crochet and then a row of these squares, and then you start back over from here with the row of double crochets. But I'm going to show you how to do row 4 and how to do double crochet row, and what you're supposed to do when you come across these little squares. It's pretty easy. So go ahead and chain 3. Remember, on the double crochet rows, we're doing an increase at the very beginning. So we're going to put a double crochet right into here, making that V shape. So now you may think, okay, what do I do when I come across this big open space here? All you have to do is you put a double crochet right into it and then continue like normal. So every time you come across this little opening, little square, just put a double crochet. Don't forget to still put your increasing. So I put my increase right here, chain 2, another double crochet, and then I continue on like normal. So I'm going to work along all the way, and then when I get to the end here, I'll show you what you do. Coming up on the end of the row 4 here. So what I have left is this double crochet and our chain 3 plus a chain 1. So I'm going to do double crochet in the top of this stitch, and then I'm going to put another double crochet into here, because really this is a double crochet and a chain 1. So this is still a square space we have to put a double crochet into, just like this. And now you're going to put your little increasing, because remember, for our double crochet rows, we do increasing at the ends and the beginnings. I'm going to drill that into your head by the end of this video. So go ahead and do that. 2 double crochets, continuing on with that V shape. Put it in the wrong spot, I need to fix that. Right in here. There we go. And now you can continue on like normal. So you're going to just continue doing this, 2 rows of double crochets, and then your 3rd row will be the squares, and then hop right back into 2 rows of double crochets. Remember that your double crochets rows, say it with me, have an increase at the end of the beginning, In the square rows, they do not have increases at the end of the beginnings. So you're going to continue doing this for 14 rows if you're following exactly my pattern. If not, you keep doing it until when you have it on, the ends line up like this, they touch. For me, that was 14 rows. For you, it might be different. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you guys once I get to my 14th row. I do want to point out one thing when you're doing your square rows is that because we are increasing, it might be different every time you do it. So for example, this row, when I come to an increasing spot, I have to skip one and go into the next stitch, which is this one right here. And now this is different from the other row because the other row, right, where is it? We skipped that stitch and went right into the chain space. But don't worry, just keep the same pattern. Chain one, you're going to skip one. I say skip one and then do your increase. Okay, make sure you still chain one and then do your increase. Okay, and now you're going to chain one, skip one, and go into the next. So don't overthink it, okay? Just keep it as simple as possible. And I'll show you at the end of the row, it also might be a little bit different. So for the end of this row, like I said, it might be a little bit different for these square rows that you do. So chain one, skip one, go into the next. And like I said, it might be a little bit different. So what you're left with is just another double crochet, this chain three here. So if you were to chain one and skip one, you can't. So what you just do instead, simple, don't overthink it. We're just going to put a regular double crochet right into here. Just like that. Not going to worry about it. And trust me, when you have it all put together, you aren't going to notice that this doesn't look like this. Okay, I promise you. So just then continue like normal. Alrighty, I'll meet you guys back at 14 rows. Alrighty, so here I have my 14th row completed, and I made sure whatever row number you ended on, if you didn't follow along with me, make sure that you end with it having still 2 rows of double crochet at the end here. Just makes it look a little bit cleaner because when we add our buttons will be in this section. Here's also a picture of what it looks like on, so you can get a little bit of an idea for yourself. Now you're just going to continue working down, not doing those increasing right here, but we're still going to do the increasing in where our stitch markers were. So we're still going to do that. I'm going to add 6 more rows, so I'm going to have a total of 20 rows of these increasing for total. So that's if you're following along with me. If you're not following along with me, you want to at least make sure you still end with 2 rows of double crochet as your very last rows. And for the how far you need to go, it kind of needs to go a little bit mid-chest and a little bit below the armpits. And I'll insert a picture also right here of what I'm kind of talking about and where you need it to kind of end. And then once we do that, we're going to add the armhole openings. But I also want to show you guys, when you start your rows, you're going to start it the same way. So imagine that, this is just for reference, okay? Imagine that I already did my square row and I'm about to do my double crochet row again. Remember, because we are not doing are increasing at the neckline anymore, we aren't going to be going into this stitch, because this stitch counts for this double crochet. So really, when we start our rows of double crochets, we're not going into here anymore. We're going into this one. Okay? So it will look like that instead. So I have in total 20 rows, and I'll insert that picture of what it looks like on right here so you can get an idea. And remember that if you're not following along with me, you're still making sure you end with 2 rows of double crochets. So now the next thing we're going to be doing is making our armholes, which is super easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to start our row of squares next, and we're going to work our rows of squares all the way along until we reach our first increasing spot. And I'll meet you once you do that. So go ahead and work to your first increasing spot, and I'll meet you there. Alright, so I'm coming up to my first chain space here, and I'm just going to put a double crochet into it. Now the next spot, or the next thing we need to do, is going to be probably different for every person. What we need to do is we need to add a chain so we can make our armhole. And let me zoom out so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So I have my piece laid out like this. What we're going to do is this is where we left off at this right here. We're going to chain an amount, and then we are going to just connect it directly to the next increasing spot, or the increasing spot that's directly below it when you have it laid out like this. And so it will connect like this, and you have your armhole opening. Now the number that you chain, usually in most projects like this, it's around 5, or like 3 to 5, I want to say, for armholes. Now for me, if you're following exactly my pattern, I chain 3. I chain 3. So for you, it might be a little bit different. So just kind of play around with the amount of chains to see what kind of works best for you for making the armhole opening. So it'll look kind of like this. What you're going to do now is to find the next stitch marker. Use either the one directly below it when you have it laid down like this, or you just follow along, boop, right there. So what we're going to do is you're going to grab that next chain space here, line it up, I'm going to grab it, turn it around here, and I'm going to put a double crochet into here. So you guys see how kind of I have it lined up here. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for you guys to see. So now I'm going to put a double crochet in there. So yarn over, grab this backing, insert hook, and put a double crochet just like this. And now you have an armhole opening like so. And I'll insert a picture right here of what it looks like when you have those armholes, just so you can have an idea. And now what we're going to do is when we look at it, have our armhole, we're going to continue now working along here until we reach the next stitch marker, which is all the way over here. So now we've skipped this entire section. So you don't want to work this way. You want to remember in crocheting you always work this direction. So chain 1 after you do that double crochet, skip 1, go into the next. There you go. And just continue doing your square pattern all the way along. So I've reached my next stitch marker here. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing I did for the other armhole. Just chain 1, and then when I go into the stitch marker or that increase spot, I'm just putting a double crochet, and then I'm going to chain 3. Your chaining might be different than mine. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to say, okay, where is the next stitch marker? The next stitch marker is right here. Go ahead and line them up. I'm going to kind of flip my work here so I can kind of see it a little bit better. There we go. Now I am going to do a double crochet just into that. So yarn over, insert hook, and put a double crochet. And now we have our second armhole. And now you're going to finish off this row by just continuing that pattern of your squares all the way to the end. So now that we have just finished making our armholes in the 21st row, if you're following along with me, I will show you guys how to do the next row, because it is a little bit different because we have to work into the chain 3 spots here. So go ahead and start like normal, which is just chaining 3. And we just finished our square row, so we have to do our double crochet rows again. Go ahead and chain 3 like normal, flip work. We're working our rows of double crochets. So you're going to do this all the way until we meet where the chain 3 is, all the way over here. So work down, right, I want you to go until right here, right into this space. To go across the chain 3 here, we're gonna have to go into every single little stitch. So make sure we go into the top of this double crochet. Now we have our chain 3. We're going to put a double crochet into every chain here. So it might be a little bit hard. I have faith in y'all. I'm going to go in through the back way because it's a little bit easier. So just like that. 1, 2, and one more right here, 3, just like that. And then we have, make sure you don't skip this double crochet we want to put a stitch into, and there you go. And now you can continue like normal. Continue working across until you reach the next chain 3, and you're going to do the exact same thing, and then continue working across, and then you end your row like normal. Okay, so after you do that initial row where you have to go into the chain 3, you're then, for the body, you're just going to continue doing your normal pattern, 2 rows of double crochet, and then the square row. And you're going to do that, if you're following along with me, for a total of 38 rows all the way down. So that means you're going to add 16 more rows after this 22nd row. So add 16 more. You can make it as long as you want. If you want to add more to your body, go for it. Just make sure you end with 2 rows of double crochet. Alright, So I'm going to show you guys how to now do the sleeve. So go ahead, turn your work hair, find your armhole, and I want you to find where we did that chain 3, which is going to be right here. And we're going to be attaching our yarn into the second double crochet here at the very top of it. And you're going to insert right into the top here, just like this. You're going to grab your yarn, make a slip knot, attach your yarn to your hook, and we're just going to pull through, just like this. So for row 1 of your sleeve, you're going to do the square rows. And so chain 3, then chain 1. And it's going to be a little bit different. So you're going to skip this one. And usually I would say go into the next, but the next one is kind of this weird little shape here. So just go into this space right after this double crochet. Right into here. Then chain 1, and then you're going to skip this weird thing again and just go into this space. And this is what it's looking like for the first 3. For the 4th one, you're going to skip this and go into this space. Now we have reached it back to just normal double crochets here, so that we know what to do here. Skip one, go into the next. You continue, skip one, go into the next. So you're going to do this all the way around your sleeve. And I'm going to meet you guys once you reach this very last double crochet before it gets to these weird little chain spaces, and I'll show you again how to work into there. Okay, so I've come across to my last double crochet right here, and it happens to be the one I have to skip, so I'm going to skip it, and I'm going to go into the space right after it. Chain 1, and then I'm going to skip this and go into this space right here. And now what I have left is this double crochet right here. But what I'm going to do instead is just connect right here. So skip this one, and we're going to connect. I'm going into, if you kind of see, one tool. I'm going to connect it just like this. I'll do that again for you guys. I'm really bad at explaining like slip stitches for some reason. But I'm going into the second stitch from right here. There you go. Now we just finished our first row for our sleeve. Now for the second row, we are going to do our first row of double crochets. So chain 3. We're going to put a double crochet into this chain space. And then we're going to put a double crochet into this one. So just like we have been doing, right? Now, this is just the easiest part. You just continue doing your normal pattern. So my next row will be double crochets, all double crochets. The next row will be my square rows, and I'll continue that pattern until I've reached a total of 24 rows if you're following along with my pattern. or however many rows it takes for you to reach to your wrist. And I want to point out, I'm also wearing a red one I have made here. I made sure to end just a little bit below where my wrist is because we are adding a cuff. And you can see I ended with 2 rows of double crochets. As for the measurements, I'll put up on the screen here of what all the measurements were for my sleeves. So after you get the length of your sleeve, we're going to work on making our cuff. So where you left off, we're going to do decreases all the way around these stitches. So what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1, take a stitch marker, and put it into that chain you just made. That way we know where this chain is when we end. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, then pull through all the loops, and that's how you do decrease. Then you're going to go over to the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all the loops. And you're going to continue doing this. This is decreasing all the way around. Coming up on the last 2 stitches, and it's gonna be a little tight. So there's 1, and then the other one is where your stitch marker is. Take it out so it's easier. Oops. I told you it was going to be tight. Alright. Last one. And there we go. Now we can start making our cuff. If you're following along with me, you're going to be chaining 9. But if you're not following me, you want to chain the amount you want your cuff length to be. So if you want a shorter cuff, chain less, longer cuff, chain more. But go ahead and chain 9 if you're following me. Now we are going to be working single crochets in all of these stitches here, starting with the second one from the hook. So right here. Just a single crochet like this, and work that all the way down to the very last one here. Now, once you're at the end, you are going to want in the very next stitch that's right after where your connecting row is. So right here, look next to it, there should be a stitch there. That's where we're going to be putting a slip stitch. And you'll do this after every row you complete. So right in here. And just put a slip stitch. Now, after you do a slip stitch, we are going to be doing decrease in the next 2 stitches. So 1, 2, we'll be putting a decrease. So yarn over, pull through, go into the next hook, yarn over, pull through, and you're going to pull through all the loops. Now, we are going to flip our work. All you have to do is just flop this down, and that's how you flip your work. Now we are going to work our way up this row, working in these back loops only. So I rotate my row, so I'm looking at the top of the stitches, so I can see where the back loops are. just like this. And you want to make sure you go into this one and not into here. I've done that on accident where I go into here. So make sure it's right here. Insert, do a single crochet, and then do it for the next remaining ones. I'm coming up on my last few here. There will be one kind of hidden right at the very top here. You want to go into there. And now I like to go, you can see there's a loop right here. I like to go into that loop for a tighter fit of my cuff. You don't have to do this part. You can then, if you don't want to do what I'm doing, if you think it's too hard, go ahead and skip forward to when I do a chain one and do the next row. But if you want to follow along with me, I go into this loop for a little extra snugger fit. So, just like this. Show you again. Do a single crochet. Now, after the end of a row, you will chain one. Going to flip your work, and we're going to work the same way we did last time, down the row into the back stitches of our loop, or the back loops of our stitches. Coming up on the end here, make sure you're not missing or skipping any stitches. There will always be one kind of hidden at the very base here, so don't forget that one. Now I recommend, for if this is your first time making cuffs, to put a stitch marker at the very last one you just made, okay? And you will see why. So remember, at the end of each row into the next stitch we do a slip stitch, and then we do a decrease in the next 2 rows. Okay, and then we flip our work. And this is the reason I put the stitch marker, so you guys know where to go and start your new row, because you don't want to accidentally go into the stitch beforehand where we did the slip stitch. You want to make sure you're still starting at where your actual rows begin. So I recommend putting a stitch marker if you are not comfortable doing that, or if you're having a hard time figuring out where that first stitch is, just for the first time doing it, I recommend. So keep working up your row into the back loops, doing single crochets. So I'm coming up on the end of my row here, doing my single crochets into my back loops. And you may think that this one is the last one, but remember, if you're following along with me, we went into that extra stitch at the very top here. So that will be the last stitch we do. So then, now that you're done there, chain one, flip our work, and we're going to go into the stitch that's right here, not the one that is directly behind, but the one that is the second one in the row here, right here. And just do this until you're all the way around and you're at the end over here, probably about 3 to 2 stitches before you meet the end, and I'll show you how you connect it all together. So I have come up to, I have about 1, 2, 3 stitches left here. So I just finished this row. So I'm going to go ahead and end this row with that slip stitch. Now we're going to do that decrease in these two right here. Perfect. Now we've come up to the beginning row that we made over here. So now we have to connect the two ends together. And to do that, you are just going to fold them in half like this. And on this one right here, we're going to be inserting our hook into the front loops. Just like this. And then for this side, or this end, we're going to be going into the back loops. Okay? Insert your hook into the next, or the very first stitch here, which is right here. So insert, then grab your other side over here, the very first stitch, go into that back loop. I feel like the first one's always a little bit tricky, trying to get in there. Why am I struggling? Oh, you know why? It's because I'm going into the wrong one. Don't do what I just did. I'm trying to go into here. Make sure you're going into the right one. See how it actually starts? I was trying to go over here. So don't do that. You want to go into this one. So now that I have them on here, I'm going to do a slip stitch through all the loops. And then I'm going to do the same thing in the next stitch. Through the front one here. And then the back loop over here. And then slip stitch. Go ahead and work this all the way up. So I'm coming up on my last few here. So I'm going into front loop of this one, and then the back loop here. Then I got one more to do, and it's kind of in this hidden loop right here. And the same thing over here. There's a hidden loop. If you can kind of see it. Just shove your hook in there, okay? It's right there. Do your slip stitch. In there, you have it all connected. You can go ahead and chain one, cut your yarn, and pull through. Here is our cuff on. And see how I have kind of a more tighter fit around my wrist? This also helps because I have really small wrists as well. So I'll meet you guys once your sweater is completely done and we'll add on the buttons together. So for some reason, I lost the footage of me sewing on the buttons, so I'm just gonna have to roughly explain to you guys how to do that. So you're gonna wanna pick a button that's big enough to fit through a double crochet like this, as you can see here. So you're gonna wanna place your buttons on the rows that have the 2 double crochets. So I placed one right here, right when the V shape starts to form. And I put it on the end here, and then I skipped those 2 rows and then placed my other button on the next 2 rows of double crochet, skipped, went to the next 2, skipped these 2, went to the next 2, skipped these 2, and went to the next 2. So to place them, doesn't matter exactly how you place them. I just threaded my yarn through that little back loop there and then tied it on and then sewed the ends in and tied it off again. The exact position of where I tied them on, I did about the second double crochet in the row, and I tried to do it in between these two rows, so somewhere like in here. Like if I were to do it on this side, I would probably do it to this double crochet right here. Once again, I'm so sorry that that footage like just disappeared. If you need extra help, look up how to attach buttons onto a project. Okay, but this, at least you know like where I place them and why. And then to button them up, see if I could do it with one hand, you just find the one that's across from it, and we just go into these right here. Oh, I could do it with one hand. Just like that. And that's how they stay attached. Show you guys the measurements real quick while I'm here. The length from the very top to the bottom is 20 inches. The width when it's buttoned up is about 19 and a half. So when it's unbuttoned, it's about 20 inches. Our sleeves from the shoulder all the way down right before the cuff is about 23 and a half. With the cuff, it's about 25 and a half. If we measure just from where we started the sleeve row and go down just before the cuff, about 12, maybe 12 and a half. And then with the cuff, about 15. The cuff itself is roughly about 2 inches. And here we have the finished look. I present to you the Strawberry Summer Cardigan. I'm really proud of this one. This is the first cardigan I've ever made. Man, I'm just so proud of myself. Look at her. She's so beautiful. I also made a red one, so it looks good in a lot of different colors. This is super fun. I really hope you guys learned something while making this. Hopefully it was easy to follow. I know this thing was so long, but I wanted to make sure to get every detail in there for you guys. So as always, I hope you guys learned something and have fun crocheting out there, everyone. Bye bye.